Hello, students. Today we will discuss R. Parthasarthi's poem From Homecoming in detail. I am no longer myself as I watch the evening blur the traffic to a pair of obese headlights. I return home, tried my face pressed against the window of expectation. I climb the steps to my flat, only to trip over the mat outside the door. The key goes to sleep in my palm. So Parthasarthi opens this poem abruptly. It's a very abrupt opening of the poem. In the evening time, when the children are playing on the lawns, the teacher critic is sitting at his desk. The door is open. This fellow worshipped wrong gods from the beginning, and marriage made his position even worse. So he says, I am no longer myself as I watch the evening blur the traffic to a pair of obese headlights. It's evening time, the traffic lights. Only the headlights are visible of the cars, of the vehicles. And the poet returns home dry. He's very tired. He presses his face against the window of expectations. He has lots of expectations from his life. But not all his expectations are being fulfilled. So he climbs the steps to his flat, and there's a mat outside the door, and he trips over that mat because he is walking, very in a gloomy mood. So the key goes to sleep in my calm, the key to the flat. I fear I have bungled again. That last refinement of speech terrifies me. The balloon of poetry has grown red in the face with repeated blowing. For scriptures, I therefore recommend the humble newspaper. I find my prayers occasionally answered there. I shall perhaps go on. So here, this poet, he has worshipped wrong gods from the beginning, and marriage has made his position even worse. He had not studied the Greek poets well, whose message was better to bury a woman than marry her. This teacher critic took up a teaching job to support himself and his family. He wrote reviews of the poems composed by other poets. He is invited to conferences and he attends them. He expressed his ideas easily, although he had no talent. He could express his ideas about nothing, or his gods had left him. It means he was not inspired by his gods. That is, whatever he wrote or expressed was not inspired by higher gods. So, this is a very beautiful description of a critic, poet critic. Now, the teacher critic is he's incapable of writing a single line of poetry, but he writes reviews of poems, other poets. So he attends conferences, has no talent. See, I fear I have bungled again. That last refinement of speech terrifies me. The balloon of poetry has grown red in the face with repeated blowing. For scriptures, I therefore recommend the humble newspaper. I find my prayers occasionally answered there. I shall perhaps go on, like this unmindful of day melting into the night. My heart I have turned inside out. Hereafter I should be content, I think, to go through life with a small change of uncertainties. So the poet critic makes a lot of money by criticizing the works of poets of the past. He makes a lot of money, especially by cunning or dishonest means with the blood of dead poets. Such a teacher critic writes criticism in large measure and bases his criticism on the secondary kind of material on literature and less known commentaries. He is very observant and ever watchful. Parthasarthi sarcastically calls him His Eminence and wonder where he would be without the poets of the classical and modern world. He supports himself by writing criticism on the poetry of the classical and modern poets. So, that is the detailed explanation of the poem from Homecoming.